Hey, what's up guys? I'm back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build this fully responsive React application here. And basically, it's just like a data science website comprised of several different components. We have the navbar component up here at the top. Here is a hero component that takes up the full width of the page there. As we go down, we have a pricing component, have a testimonial section, an FAQ section, and then down here is a contact section, and of course the footer there. Everything is 100% responsive, looks great on mobile devices here. I know my picture might be blocking some of the screen, so I apologize for that. But we're going to use the useState hook in React for our mobile menu, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And also, when I designed this project, I was initially going to use like a React scroll package to where we can just make it like a one-page application where we click the links and it just goes down to that section. However, React Router DOM version 6 just came out with that updated version just about a week or so ago. So I thought it'd be cool to incorporate React Router version 6 into this project. There were some minor code changes, so I thought it'd be cool to show you guys how to do that. So I created some routes. Right now we're at the home page with all these components. And basically, I just reuse these components on those routes. So if you click on the pricing route, here we have slash pricing, and I just threw in the pricing component. Same with the FAQ, and then the contact as well. So I'm going to show you how to incorporate and use the React Router DOM version 6 in this project, and of course, show you how to build everything else from the beginning. We're going to start from a clean slate. So if you're ready to get started, let's get going. All right, the first thing I'm going to do, guys, I press the control backtick button to open up our little terminal here in VS Code. And what we're going to do, I'm going to change my directory to my desktop, and then I'm going to create my React app. So I'm going to type npx create-react-app, and I'm going to call this project aptive-react. And aptive is just a little name I came up with. Basically, it's just for this data science website here that I created. Okay, now that the React app has finished installing, what we're going to do now is I'd like to clean this up a bit and just take care of some files. I'm going to delete some files that we're not going to be working with, and that's just going to make it a little bit easier to follow along and not be as cluttered. So I'm going to delete those. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I always like to do this first. There we go. And we'll import React from React. And we can delete this. So what I want to do first before we start our development server, we're going to be using a few different packages today. We're going to be using React icons. So let's type in npm I react-icons. We'll go ahead and install these. Don't forget to type --save for the React icons. And then also I want to incorporate the new version of React Router DOM that just came out probably about a week or so ago from the time of this recording. So I just want to show you guys how to incorporate the new React Router version 6. So to do that, we're going to type npm I react router DOM, and then I'm going to type the @v6, and that is going to install version 6. We'll look in here, our package.json. There's our React Router DOM 6.0.2 and our React icons. So everything has been installed. Let's go ahead and start our development server. Close this a little bit here. And yes, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, zoom it in so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. There we go. And let's make sure everything's working. All right, perfect. So what I want to do, we can delete that. What I want to do, and make this full screen, I want to kind of set up our file structure. So there's many ways to do this. This is just how I'm going to do it. You can delete that div. We're going to have a components folder, so let's make that. Obviously, all of our components are going to live in there. And we can go ahead and I'm going to make an assets folder. If we have any images or videos, we'll go in there. Then also I want to have a routes folder, okay? And this is going to be where our pages are going to live. So we'll kind of do that at the very end, I think, just to kind of keep it simple. So let's get started with our app component here. So what I actually want to do is, for the sake of doing the version 6 of React Router, what I want to do is I'm going to have, I'll just go ahead and do it now. So let's import, we're going to do routes and route. So instead of router, we're just calling it routes in the new version 6 here. Then from React Router DOM. And in here, we're going to have our routes. And we're going to have in here our different routes. Okay, or different, we just call it route. It's singular here. And it's going to have a path. And then also, this is what we're going to do. An element, and in here we're going to put our components that we don't have any created yet. So let's go ahead and create our first component. And my first component, I'm just going to call it home.js, and this is where I'm going to basically display a lot of my components, my home page. So I'm going to type RAFCE to generate a functional component. And let's also create a home styles.css, and we'll import that. Great. Okay. And make sure this is working properly. Home. Whoop. Don't forget, this will be a component here. And if you press enter, it'll auto import at the top. Just saves you a couple seconds. So let's make sure we have to wrap this in a browser router as well. So let's go to index.js. And instead of the React.strict mode, we can just say browser router, and that should auto import at the top. Okay, so let's just look and see. There we go. Okay, so everything is working properly. It says hello here, and this is rendering in our home right here. So this is going to be our home page, and inside our home page, I'm going to list out all of our components here, right here. And then just to give you a better understanding, this is our home component. And again, the home component is going to be comprised of our navbar, our hero banner here, our pricing component. This is our testimonials component, our FAQ, and then contact and a footer. But this is all within the one home component. Then if I click on pricing, I just plugged in my pricing component here. Same with the FAQ and the contact. So that's how we're going to be structuring everything. Again, sorry if there's any confusion there. Many different ways to do things in programming and in coding. So that's the way I'm going to do it. I might get some heat in the comments below, but that's cool. Let me know if I'm messing up, and I'm always happy to learn some new ways to do things. So inside our home component, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and create a navbar. Let's do that first. So it's navbar.js and a navbar, say styles.css. And again, in here, we can type RAFCE, and this is with the ES7 React Native snippets. So just real quick, ES7, there it is. It's this ES7 React Redux for the quick snippets here. That way you can generate components and have some shortcuts here for anybody who's interested in that. So for our navbar, let's go ahead and do that here. So, and we're going to use links for our navbar, so we can go ahead and incorporate our React Router DOM. We're just going to use the link, I think, at this point. So from React Router DOM, and we are going to use a few of our React icons. So let's go ahead and import those. FA bars, FA times from React icons. Whoop, not React program, React icons. And don't forget to type the FA/FA. And let's go ahead and get started here. So let's do just a header here. There we go. And inside this header, we're going to have we'll say a nav with a class name navbar. Okay. And in here, we're going to have a div, and this is going to be our logo. And I have a logo that I'm going to pull over. If you want, you can just I can just do some text for now. You could just say here, logo, or whatever you want to say. But I'm going to go ahead and pull over my image into my assets folder. All right, there it is. It's going to be that is going to be our logo. So I'm going to import it at the top. Import, I'm just going to say logo from the outside of this folder into the assets and logo.png. So we're going to type image source equals, and then for curly brackets here, called logo. And then we're just going to give it an alt tag. If not, React likes to complain to you. Let's go ahead and wrap this in a link, okay? So link to, and this is just going to go to the home page. And we'll just cut that and paste it right in there. Okay. So underneath our logo, we'll do the logo div. Let's do a UL with a class name of nav menu. Okay. And we'll do some list items with a class name of nav item. And in here, let's do our links. So link to, let's see, home class name of nav link. And this one's just going to say home. I'm going to copy this down a few times. Okay, and what did we do? I think we did pricing. Then we did the FAQ. And we did the contact. Okay, and underneath the UL here, our unordered list, let's do our hamburger. So we're going to say hamburger. And here we're using our FA bars. So should be looking good here. Oh, of course, got to import it here. And we're going to import it on this one. We're actually going to import it, may import it on our app.js as well. But for now, let's just do it in our home here. So navbar, press enter, and it'll import it at the top. Let's refresh here. There we go. Looks pretty ugly because there's no styling. Let's take care of some styling right now here. So we can close that. We're not working with these right now. Just declutter a bit. And for our navbar styles, let's go ahead and we'll just start at the very top. So I think we had our header. We're going to make this with a width of 100%, a height of 100 pixels, and a background color of, we're going to see dark gray. Let's go ahead and do some CSS variables since we're using several different colors in here. That'll be a little easier to track things. So in here, I already have some variables that I'm just going to pull over. I copied them down earlier. If you're not familiar with CSS variables, basically we do a colon and then root, and then we can assign, these are just names that I used. You can use whatever you want, and then we assign our hex code there. But that's how CSS variables work, and I'll show you how to incorporate those. So box sizing, we're going to say border box. And we also want to do, we only want a margin, so margin 0, padding 0, body, I'm not fond about all those. I have some Google fonts that I'm going to pull over. If you're working in React, I assume that you're familiar with how to pull over fonts. So I just brought over Montserrat. So if you're like I said, if you're using if you're in here using React, I'm going to assume that you already know how to pull over some fonts from Google. So let's just give a little some background. I think we use this up here. Yeah, we didn't define that one. So color, and I'm going to do font family. We're using Montserrat. That's how we do it. Got to put that in parentheses though. And never leave just one font, guys. Always give it a backup like sans serif, a generic font. Not all browsers potentially could support the initial font that you choose. So just good practice to do that. List style, none. And let's also do text decoration, none. I'm going to give this a color as well. I'm just going to give it there we go. Also, I'm going to do a primary color. I'm going to show you why. Because we are going to use this in a span as a class name. Color, and it's going to be, so this is how we use a CSS variable. So we type var, then parentheses, dash, primary. And that's going to be that purple that we defined at the top right here. Okay, and let's go ahead and add in some buttons here, because we're going to be using these throughout the application. So I just want to add 100% padding of 8 pixels on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Border radius, 4 pixels. And we'll do border 1 pixel solid, and we'll use that primary color again. And let's do the background color. And we'll give it, text is going to be white. Oops. That's the problem there. And get a little cursor pointer. And let's do hover. I'm just going to copy that down. And instead of primary, secondary. Cool. Okay, so back to our navbar styles. Let's go ahead and import this color. And the background color that I'm going to use on this one is the dark gray that I previously defined. There we go. And a header with a navbar. We're going to do a max width. And this is just giving it basically just like a container, you guys. So we want this to take up the entire 100 pixels of the header. And 0, 1 rem, give it a little bit of padding. Margin auto. We want the display flex. The content, we'll do space between. And now let's do our logo here. Not inline. I'm all over the place here. All right. And why are you not working? You know, I probably forgot to just import the style sheet. So import. This is another problem. Okay. I was treating this as a class name. It's not a class name. Okay. Let's fix this header. There, see? Just like that. Header, logo, image, and let's give it a width. Let's do 80 pixels, I think. Let's see. .80 pixels, and we'll give a height auto. That should fix some problems. There we go. Okay. Let's finish styling that. We're going to go ahead and hide the hamburger. We'll add in some media queries after this. What we need to do, we still need to style our nav menu. So give some room. Nav menu. And let's do display flex. We want it to lay down, align, items, center, and justify self to start. There we go. Looking a little bit better there. There we go. We'll need some padding. So let's do a nav item. We'll give padding 0 and 1.5. Rim on the left and right. So while we're at it, let's go and style this hamburger. Just so we can see it here. I won't be able to see it. I'm going to go in here and give the hamburger some color. So to do that, we type style, 2 parentheses, color, then equal quotations. There we go. And there it is at the top. So let's fix that. Put it where we want it. And to give it a position of absolute. And we want it from the top, 2 rim, right, 1 rim. Make sure it's where we want it. That looks good. Or, you know, see if we can do this. That might be better. Oh, that's not what we want. Okay, what? Let's do this. Control Z, get back. Cool. All right, let's do that. Looks good. But we don't want to display it, so we can just uncomment that. Okay. Let's do some media queries. Looks good. Link should be white. I'll just throw that on right there. Actually, these aren't A tags. We did give them a class, and we called them the nav link color. There we go. Okay, let's do some media queries. Scroll down, give you guys some room here so you can see. Media screen, and we'll do a max width. Let's do 960 pixels. Okay, and in here, let's do the nav bar first. We'll do our nav menu. So nav menu. And what we want to do, we want it to obviously show when we're at a large screen. Then as we're below this breakpoint here, we want it to condense down and we want it to show our hamburger. So there that is. All right, and we want this. We want this position of fix. We're actually going to fix it off the screen. It's going to be left at negative 100%. But what I'm going to do is for now, I'm just going to leave it at 0, just so we can see how we're styling it. Let's do a flex direction of column. And we want to justify content to the center. Let's give it a background color of, we'll do our variable dark gray. And give it a width of, we want the width to take up the entire screen. So we'll say 100% with a height of 100% as well. Text align everything to the center. Let's give it a nice little transition here. There we go. Still need to fix a few things in there. Justify. Cool. Just need to space it out, but that looks good right there. And let's space it out real quick. So nav menu or see nav item. Margin, let's do 1.5 on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. We'll make it a little bit bigger. Let's do 1.8 rem. Let's okay, looks good. So what we want to do to make this open up when we click this bars, and then also close when we put in our other icon, we want to give it an active class. And to do that, let's hide that off the screen. So what you just saw before is what it's going to look like when we click the bar, and right now is how it's going to be until we make it active, which we're going to do right now with the menu.active, and it's going to be left 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this this hamburger button click and work. So we're going to do that with useState. We're going to import it at the top, the useState hook. There we go. And in here, give it some room. What we're going to do, we're going to give it a const and then a bracket with 2 values, and do click and set clicks, what I'm going to call it. And it's going to be the useState hook with a default value of false. Okay. And let's do, we have to do a handle click, a function. It's going to be an arrow function. I'm just going to call it handle click. And what we want this to do is set the click to there we go. I think that should be to be unclicked. That should work. Okay. Let's go ahead, and our nav menu right here is what we want to toggle. So we can delete that. I'm going to open up some curly brackets, and I'm going to use this. When clicked, we're going to display the nav menu and the active class that's going to bring it onto the screen. Else, we're just going to display the nav menu class, which is not active, so it hides off the screen. So we still have to put in the handle click here, what we did right there. So let's do that down here, and we can just knock that down right there. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to say click. Basically, when we click it, we want to display, and this is our other icon, the FA times. Okay, FA times. Otherwise, we're going to display this right here. Let's go ahead and copy that. Or we can cut that. And make sure we put it in parentheses. There we go. And let's go ahead and copy this this styling over. We want them to be the same color. And we give it a size. Let's give it a size of 20. Let's do that for the bars as well. Oh, that was 30. So still have to put a click event here. I just want to pull it a little bit open there so you can see. If I save it, it should knock it down. There we go. That's what we're doing there. And on this hamburger here, on click, we want to run the handle click. There it is. So everything, I believe, should be working properly. If we click that, oh, there it goes. Not displaying properly, so we need to fix that. Mav, that's the problem there. Okay. There we go. Cool. All right, so that concludes our nav bar. Let's go on to the next component. We can close that. Close that. Don't believe we'll be needing that. So after nav bar, we use, what we do next? We did our hero. So let's do our hero here. We're going to go ahead and create that in our components. Hero styles.css, and just generate our component here. import our style sheet. And then for our hero, we have on widescreen, it's a grid. And over here, we have some content. Then over here, we have our sign up form or our login form. So I'm going to close this down. I'll make it a little bigger so we can see what we're doing as we toggle back and forth. And in here, we're going to be using several icons. So let's go ahead and import those. I already have these predetermined. We're using a FA/database, FA asterisk, FA AccuSoft, FA, we're doing the Facebook, and we're going to do a Twitter one, and a GitHub from React Icons, and don't forget the /FA. Okay, so for our div, let's give it a class name. Give it a class name of hero. Then under here, we're going to have a div with a class name of container. And let's do a div with a class name of content. This is going to be the left side. And on the left side, let's give it a class name, column 1. So column 1 will actually be our left side. And for our H1, we'll say data to enrich your, okay. And then down here, we're gonna have our span here, okay. Let's just copy that down. And in here, we're gonna have our span with our class name, primary color. I'm just going to copy. Or actually, we can just delete that because we're not even going to say that. We're going to say online business. There we go. And after that, we'll use a p tag here. And we can just put in about 20 words. You can use like a lorem 20. So that's what I'm going to be pasting in here. It's just about 20 characters. And if you notice how whenever I save it, it kind of reformats everything. And that's from the prettier extension that I'm using. So that comes in pretty handy if you want to use that. Okay, so inside our column 1, below the p tag, we're going to give it, this is where we're going to put our use by icons. So let's do div with a class name, say used by, and in here a p, used by, and let's do our div class name, icons, right, whoop, this needs closing div, cool. And in here, to our icons, so I'll show you why I'm going to do this I tag here. So might not even need a class name for this here. Let's just do this. And these are just some names that I came up with here. Sex, and we have star AI. And let's do, for this, FA database. All right. And this one's going to be our FA asterisk. And then in here, FA AccuSoft. Cool. All right. And there we go. Give it a little space there. Everything's looking good. So let's do our second column. So the use by. So right under this one, div with a class name, we'll say column 2. And inside column 2 is going to be our form, right? Our login or registration form. So let's give that a form layout. And we're going to have a div with a class name, form container. And inside that, we're going to have a p tag. Let's give it a class name. Sign in text. There we go. We're going to say sign in with, and here's where we're going to use our mobile buttons. Okay. So let's give it a div class name, kind of giving the user the option to sign in with social logins. Inside of an I tag, and we're going to say, let's do our FA Facebook. Let's give it a size. Give it a size of 20. Do like that. And let's copy these down. And this one's going to be FA Twitter. We'll do that. FA GitHub. Cool. GitHub. Right on. All right. Under here, let's do. I'm going to have a divider here. And in here, I'm just going to give it a span. Also here, we're going to, well, let's do this. Let's do a p tag. And inside the p tag, we're going to do a span. And I'll show you why we're going to do this. Kind of gives it a little bit of an offset. It looks like the lines going through the text. Let's go do our form. So form action. We're not going to have an action. I'm just going to leave it blank. We're going to have a couple inputs though. Input type of text with a placeholder, and a placeholder is going to be name. I'm just going to copy this down. I guess we can change this to email. Doesn't really matter. The form isn't going to be functional, so but good practice. Right, and then let's do a button. We'll say create your account. All right, then underneath the form container, let's do a div with a class name. I'm going to call this form footer. And inside our form footer, let's do a p tag. So maybe some little legal notes. By signing up, you agree to our terms, data policy. Let's put that. We'll say let's do a span. We'll use our class name, primary color. Oh, that didn't work out. There we go. And in here, we'll say terms, data policy, and I'm going to copy that down. So, and then this will be the plain white text again. And then we'll put cookie policy in here. And a little white period in the back. Cool. So let's see. I think that should be about it. Let's give it some styling. We'll give that some styling here. Let's have a look at it. That's what we want it to look like. And let's see. Nothing. Let's do our styling. Well, of course, don't forget to import this. And I didn't press enter. That's okay. There we go. All right. Oh, Facebook's not. Let me see. Spell it. F-A, Facebook. Yeah, it's a lowercase b. React is really good about telling you wherever you messed up. So that is a really great feature of React. So let's style this thing. Go in here to the hero styles. And let's start off at the top. Let's see, hero, let's do a width of 100%. Want the height to be 100 heights. Let's give it a background color, same as the navbar, our CSS variable. dark gray. There we go. And let's do our container. Let's give it a max width of 1240 and have some padding, 0 on the top and bottom, 1 on the left and right, 1 rem. Margin auto is kind of shove everything into the middle. All right, let's do our content div. So hero content. We're going to display this as grid, okay, because we want it to, we're going to do the grid template columns of 2. We'll say 2, 1 fraction. And let's do our hero, let's do column 1, okay. Column 1, let's give it some padding. 1 rem, 1 rem, 1 rem. I want it to be 0 on the left, though. That's the far left. And for the height of this column, we're going to say 70 viewport heights. And I want this to display flex. It's really easy to stack everything. The flex direction of column. And then we can justify content, not self. Content to the center. Let's style that H1. And let's do the font size. We'll do 42 pixels. Font weight of 700. And let's do hero. Do our p tag now. And let's do our variable, just gray. Give it a line height of, let's do 1.4. Margin, let's do margin top of, we'll just do 1.2 rem. Give it some space so it's easier to read. And let's do our use by next. So hero use by, we're doing the p tag in there. So color, we'll do light gray. Font size, let's do, we'll do 12 pixels. Let's get margin 2 rem on the top, 0 on the left, 1 rem on the bottom. Or sorry, right, and then 0 on the bottom, or 0 on the left, excuse me. And we'll color these things. Padding. Let's make this just padding right, though. Okay, now let's do the right side where our form is. That should be the left. So, so hero column 2. Let's give it a padding of 1 rem. We want the height to be the same, 70 viewport heights. Let's display this as flex with a flex direction of a column, and we'll justify the content to the center. And also a font size of, let's do 0.8 rem there. And let's do p tag. We'll give it a color. Let's do our gray. I think the next one was form layout. Form layout, then form container. Okay, so for the form layout, here, let's do a width. We'll do 400 pixels, and we're going to give it all media queries. Margin, auto, background color. We'll do our white, and get a little rounded edge at 6 pixels. Next is the form container. Let's give it a padding of, let's do 1.5 rem. And we'll do 2 rem. And after the container, our sign and text. That's how we did it. Let's give it a margin Let's do margin bottom. 10 pixels. So our social login, and let's give it a background of all white, padding. Let's see, I'm going to do 16 pixels on the top, 45 pixels on the right, 6 pixels on the bottom, and 45 on the left. Border 1 pixel solid, variable, let's see, light gray, and a little border radius for these social icons of 4 pixels. Next, we are going to do our divider. There we go. That's all that's left here. So, let me say, go into divider, and then the span, background color, and padding 0 pixels, p span, and forgot to just style this here, the p tag above that. I'm just going to paste that. Let's give this width of 100%, text align to the center, border, bottom, this is going to raise the bar up so it kind of looks like the bar is going through our text. Okay, now let's style our form. We're going to do the inputs. So we'll say form input. We're going to display block with a width of 100%, margin 1.2, rem top and bottom 0 on the left and right. Give it a border and a radius. There we go. Don't forget to close that. Okay, start a little form footer. That's the background color. Let's say border bottom right radius. Pixels. I'm going to copy this down. Change that to the left. Now let's do our p tag, and I think our span. Give us a font weight, make it a little bit bigger. 500. Let's see how this looks. We have not done any media queries. Refresh. Look, I think it's going to look pretty good. Yeah, perfect. Let's do some media queries. We want these to stack when we drop below our specified pixels. Probably going to do 940 or 960. Let's do that right here. And say 960 pixels. Our hero, we want height, auto width 100%. Let's do our container. We're going to change up some padding. Make sure we're specifying the hero container. And so this is where we're going to stack them. Then for column one, We want to give it a height of 90 VH. And basically, instead of stacking, I don't think we're going to stack. We'll probably just hide that form on a mobile device, just to make it easy here. I'll give it a max width. Let's change the size of the H1. Bring it down to 32 pixels. Whoops. I think it was like 48 or 46, something like that. And yeah, let's just go ahead and hide it. Well, let's see how it looks. There we go. It's picky. We can do that. I'm just going to hide it for now. So that was our column 2. I'm just going to hide the entire column 2 with display none. There we go. Okay. Everything looking good. All right. What's next? So for our next thing we did was pricing. There we go. So a lot of these I just hid on mobile devices. So let's go ahead and do our pricing next. So let's create our pricing component here. Oh. Pricing.js. And we'll do pricing styles.css. And we're going to import that. And let's go into our home. Press enter so it auto imports at the top. And now let's do, our pricing. We'll go ahead and jump into some of the JSX here. So for pricing, basically it's going to be, did we hide that? Yeah. So it's going to be basically both of these right here. But on the mobile devices, we just kind of hide that. So let's go and do some pricing. I'm going to give this a class name of pricing. Do a div with a container. Whoops. Class name of container. Class name. Content. You say this is going to be top content there. One more div. We'll have an H2 in here and say everything you need for, let's give it a span, $99 a month. And we'll do a p tag in here. Let's see, includes every. There we go. Outside of this div, let's do a div with the class name. We'll say button div. I'm not the most creative at naming. And then below here, the top content, we're going to do a div with the class name of bottom content. And there we're going to have, we'll have some little cards. So everything you need And we'll have an H3 here, all in one form. And let's do p tag, and I'm going to do some lorem. It's probably about 20 or 30 words there. So outside of that p tag, let's go outside of this div. Actually, the div, I'm going to have another card. And inside this div, we're going to have I don't know if we actually need a. We're going to use font awesome in here. No, let's not use. I'm not going to use any font awesome. We're going to use some more lorem ipsum text. It's about 6 characters. And I am going to copy this down here. Do 5 times there. And let's go ahead and, you know what, we're going to do this on both sides, so we can actually just select this card div and just copy that down as well. It's going to work. It's going to work perfectly. And I think that's all we need to do. Just need to give it some styles. So let's go ahead and style our pricing. All right. Give it a margin, top 5 rem. I'm going to max width. I think we're doing 1240 pixels. Padding 1 rem. So let's do top content first. And let's see, we're going to display as grid. Grid temp. Whoop. We're going to do 3 this time. Yeah, 3 fraction. 3, then 1. Give it a border. Why does it keep selecting that? It's not what I want. Let's do the light gray. There we go. And padding, let's do on the bottom. Up 3 rem. Let's do a font size 38 pixels. And let's style our span. We'll do primary for that one. And I'm just going to copy that down. It's going to be for the p tag, and I'm going to use gray. All right, so let's style our bottom content now. Also display grid. Give it a grid gap, just 10 pixels. And the auto on the sides. Style our card. And we need to go back up and add a period there. Let's see. So we didn't name this div, but it's the only one in there, so that'll be fine. Every time. Give it a 1 pixel solid, and let's do our light gray. And we'll give it padding of 1 rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And we'll do, let's see, no border. I don't know if we're using that one. Let's just do our spans. I'll give it 14 pixels. And let's don't forget to style our H3 in there. Let's have a look and see if that should be good for some. Then we do our media queries. Oh, we're going to fix these buttons here. You know what? Let's go in here. That we could just do that. See if that fixed it. Ah, perfect. All right. So looking good, looking good. Now, on media queries, for our media, when we shrink down to a mobile size, I think we're just going to hide some of these things, and we'll rearrange it just a bit. Probably change this to 1 column on the grid, and we'll just we'll hide this down here, and maybe change some font. All right. So for our media queries, just hide that all together. We're going to change the H2 size to, okay, let's have a look. All right, cool, looking good. Yeah, I think that's really great, actually. Boom, condenses down. What's the next component? Looks like the testimonial component, this box right here. So for that, we'll go ahead and create a new testimonial functional component. So testimonials.js and testimonials.css. Keep it consistent. Let's get rid of some of these. Let's clean things up a bit. And import our style sheet. Okay, don't know why it's doing that. All right, there we go. Let's import it right here. Okay, so we have our functional component. Let's go ahead and get to work on it. Give it a class name testimonial. And in here, div with the class name of container. And another div, the class name of we'll say outline. I don't want to Be double naming things. And I'll show you why we're doing so many divs here. We're going to do an overlay. FA, we're using the database. This one. We need to import that at the top. Oh man. Sorry, I work on two keyboards. I'm only at home about 3/4 of the time, and I use the one keyboard. And then when I'm at work, I use my laptop primarily. So I've really probably look into getting a Mac keyboard for my house. So might cut down on some of the errors here. All right, so under here, you get a P tab with a class name, body, and we're just going to throw in some lorem text. Again, I don't feel like typing it out. We're looking at about 20 characters there, 20 words. Then under the P tag, but within the content div, we're going to do one more class name of name, and this is going to be Miss Mary Shores. And cover that down. Just a P tag is all we need. CEO of Stacks, boss lady. Okay, so for our styling, let's go ahead and work on the testimonial container outline. So testimonial, we want a width of 100%. We want this background and keep it white. Margin of 3 rem, top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And for the container, let's do a max width. I know it's kind of redundant to be typing out this container over and over, and since we are in React and we can reuse components, I could easily just create a container component. I'll probably do that on my next video. So here's what we're going to do. We're creating this image here. We're going to import the image with CSS, but we're going to create a linear gradient over it. Okay, so here's what we're doing for that. It's kind of a lot, so I'm going to copy it over, but kind of explain what we're doing here. So first, we're typing this gradient, and we want that to display from left to right, so to left. And I'm going to copy this RGBA over right here, put a comma, and this is our second value, our second color. Okay, then another comma, and after that one, sorry. What I'm going to do is, let's see, put a comma here. I'm going to just space here. Hopefully this will work. I just want you guys to be able to see it. And this is just an image. I grabbed it from Unsplash. You can grab one wherever you like. This is just the target image that I'm going to copy over. Single quotes here. So that's what it is right there. I know it's kind of a lot. Really, this link is the long part, but that's going to give us a gradient over our picture. So we also need to give it a width and a height to kind of define its dimensions. So let's do a width. Whoop. There we go with the keyboard again. Width. Also need to close that brackets here. Width of 100%, but we're going to give it a height of 450 pixels. And again, we'll let's change the position. We're gonna give it some media queries as well, of course. So border radius, and we'll do 10 pixels, kind of give it a nice little rounded edge. Let's see how our image is looking. There, so I think it's looking pretty good. That's exactly what we wanted here. So notice the color over here is a little bit darker. And what we want to do is move this text down to the bottom left, okay? And it's already responsive how it is right now. So let's go ahead and move that down. So testimonial, and that was the content. And we want to display flex direction of column so it stacks nicely. Let's give it dimensions, max width. We'll say 50%. Display content to the center. And give some padding of 3 rem. Also, let's just do our body and our body here, and then our p tag right there. I think just we don't want that all around, just the top and bottom. And our name, we'll give it 14 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Hey, there we go. We need to change the color though. The color's not working. I'm gonna change that span as well. So let's go into, do we have it up here? No, we don't. Okay, well, we can just change it here. That might work. Yeah, there we go. Cool. All right, so looks pretty good, and it's pretty well responsive. Not perfect, but we're gonna change that. We'll do that some media queries right now. And let's see, testimonial. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Let's refresh. There we go. Perfect. All right. So our next component, I think that's pretty much it for our testimonial. So our next one, below that, our FAQ. So let's go ahead, and what we can do is we're going to create our next FAQ component as well as our style sheet. So let's go ahead and do that inside our components. FAQ.js and FAQ styles.css. REFCE to generate our component. And we can close this testimonials. Let's import this one. All right. So for our FAQ, it's not going to be too terribly long. Let's start out here by giving this a class name called FAQ. Let's do this. I'm going to use that down below. Section FAQ. All right, and then give it a container. This is going to be a div with the class name. We're going to make this column 1, and in here we're going to have our frequently asked questions, and then p tag. Can't find the answer you were looking for. I'll give it a p tag at first. Reach out to our, let's give it a span so it changes colors. Customer support team. There we go. All right, now let's do column 2 underneath that div. Last name column 2. Inside column 2, we're going to have a div class name. I'm going to call this FAQ. Okay. Let's do H5. So H5. Well, I would throw in some jokes here. And let's give it some lorem. Cool. We'll just copy that same one down. How many do we do here? See how many we did. Yeah, 4. Cool. Looks like that's more than enough. All right, there we go. That's 4 there. So underneath, that's probably really about it. Just style it. Let's do our styling next. So this is our testimonial. Well, no, it's not. Sorry. What do we call it? FAQ, section FAQ. Section FAQ. That's not what we called it. That's different. Probably making this a little bit more difficult than what I need to do. So, sorry. And let's go with a container. Let's do, okay, so basically one smaller column and then one larger column. So let's tell our H3. Font size, let's do 28 pixels. Get some padding, 1 rem, 0. And let's do that text there. Do our gray. Let's color our span. Do that next. Okay, span. Most all our spans are going to be that primary color. Let's do 1 rem for our H5. And there we go. And the last one, our little p tag in there, are gray. Let's see how that looks without any media queries. Let's reload that. Looking pretty good, pretty good. Could copy that down. Do we make 2 in this one? I think we did. No, just 1. Cool. Yeah, I just didn't type it as long here. Okay. What we want to happen when we shrink down to mobile just falls all in line. So let's do that right now. Nope. Let's change the grid template column to 1, just 1 fraction, which would be the whole page. Refresh, boom. Cool, there we go. that is it on the FAQ. And what is next after FAQ is the contact. So let's go ahead and do our contact. And see how it looks on full screen. Basically, we're going to do the grid again with a quick form over here. Alrighty. Then we just have the footer, and that'll be it, guys. So in here, we can close the FAQ. And let's create our contact.js. Whoops. Go ahead and generate my component here. There it goes. Contact styles. Import contact styles.css. And in here, there we go. All right, so for the contact, let's start out with class name. Not content, contact. We'll give it a container. Inside the container, we're gonna have two columns. So class name, we'll have a column 1, and inside the column 1, we're gonna have another div with the class name. We'll have content, and in there, kind of break this down. We'll have a h2. It says get in touch. Okay. And then also we're going to have a p tag with some lorem text. Again, probably about 20 characters or so. I'm going to save this so it formats it. There we go. Now let's get down into the address and some icons here. So underneath this div, underneath the content div, but still in content, still in column 1. So inside here, is that where we want? Yeah, right in here. Just make sure. Inside the content, is that where we want to be? Yeah, we want to be inside the content. So right here, we're going to do class name, address, and let's give it a p tag, and we're just going to say evergreen. Let's copy that down, and we'll just change that. This is not a real address, by the way. I'll give it a class name. Icons. And in here, we're going to use our React icons again. We use FA phone. Go ahead and hit enter, and I'll auto import that. There we go. And we give it some styling in here. So style. Let's do margin right. And whenever we do styling in JSX here, we need to make sure we use camel case. So no dashes. And we always put the value here in parentheses. So let's give a number. 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Cool. So that looks good. Let's copy this down, and we'll just change it to instead of FA phone, we'll say envelope, and make sure this brought it in up top, and it did. That's perfect. We'll just go ahead and change this to an email address. And let's do another div right below that one with a class name, careers. In here we'll say looking for careers, then expand, view all job openings. All right, and then now we need to go column 2. So we'll highlight this column 1 to make sure we go just below that. We're going to give this a column 2. There we go. And inside here, this is going to be our form side. So I guess first thing we can do in here is we'll go ahead and start with our form. We're just going to leave the action blank. It's not going to be a working form. Input type text, the placeholder of, let's say, full name. Make that capitalized. All right. I'm going to copy this down a couple times. I'll make this one email. And this one is going to be phone. And let's do a text area. So let me see what we're going to do for text area. Let's see how big we're going to make it. Text area. Let's give it and we'll give it a name. We don't really have to, but message. Give it a placeholder. Message. Let's see. Make it 30, I think. Should be good. 30, and then rows. I think we're just going to make it 10 rows. And that should be it for our text area. We are going to use a little checkbox here. Let's give a class name checkbox. And in here we'll have our input type checkbox. Self-closing. And put a p tag. See, by checking this box, you agree to a span, so we can change the colors on that. Privacy policy. And I'm going to copy this down so you can see what we're doing here. And let's give it another span. And we'll say cookie policy. There we go. And put our period in there so it's a white period. And see, that's the div there after that p tag. And let's give it a little button here. A little submit button. There we go. Let's do some styling. We'll make sure. Let's work on some styling before we even look at it. We already know it's going to be disastrous here. So contact container, column 1. Contact. We'll do our width of 100%. Give it some margin. I really should pull that out and make it easier. Guess we don't have to do that, so we already did it here. There we go. Let's go with column 1. And we're going to flex it 45% with a padding, 5 rem, 2 rem. Contact. Say column 1 H2. Give it a font size. Let's do 28 pixels. Padding 0. And let's do our p tag. Let's give it some color here. Whoops. Do the gray color. And it's our address. 1 rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Contact and column 1. Let's do our icons. Let them display flex, align items to center, and do some padding. bar RAM, and 0 on the left and right. So we still have our careers. Basically just some padding and changing some colors at this point. Okay, column 2. Let's work on our form here. We want this to flex 1.055%. And we're going to give it some padding. Oh, there we go. Okay, so contact in our form. We want it to stack. Max width of 500 pixels, margin auto. And let's do our inputs. So a little bit of a rounded edge. And give it a border. Let's do our light gray. And let's do our text area. Let's say 1 rem. Let's give it some padding as well. Let's do 0.6. Same size. And rem. Let's just copy this down. We'll just use that. Save a couple seconds. There we go. Oh, we could do this. Make it fun. There we go. Don't forget, we got to put this in parentheses. Ah, shit. There we go. All right, so let's do our checkbox next. Not section. Contact. And so form. Let's see. Checkbox. Input. Let's style this just a little bit. Actually want this to be 0 all around. I think that should be looking pretty good. Need to do some media queries. Man, it looks pretty good. Oh, that looks looking kind of funny. We'll have to fix that. But let's go ahead and do some media queries. All right. So for our media queries, let's jump in. Only going to be a couple. So I'm going to give margin to the whole thing. And we're actually going to want the container to flex. It's the column. Padding. 0, top and bottom, 1 ram on the left and right. And let's give this some padding, 1 ram. Yeah. That should be a little bit better. Yeah, not bad, not bad. I'll come back and fix that here in a little bit. Let's just wrap up our footer here. So to do our footer, let's move on and create those components. So we're going to do a functional component for our footer as well. And our footer styles. And let's bring this in at the very bottom. All right, let's get started with our JSX, and we're going to use some icons in here at the very bottom. Let's go ahead and get this in here. We're going to do a container as well. Let's get a div with a class name. Oh, let me call it. We're also going to give this solutions, and I'll show you why here in just a moment. Soluciones. All right. We'll do a UL here. Do an LI tag. I guess we could do some links. We'll do a link. I was going to do a tag, but if we're going to do the React router DOM, let's go ahead and do link, import that at the top for me. There we go. And it's going to say marketing. And let's copy these down. We're going to do analytics, commerce, insights. Cool. Underneath the solutions div, we are going to, let's just copy this down. I'll make it easy. And instead of solutions, we'll change this to support, because this is going to be our little support section here. And we'll say pricing, documentation, and say guides, API status. Okay, and let's do, probably do one more. How do we have this set up? So this is what we've done so far. We want to do this company and then also legal as well. So let's just slide that in. Let's copy this down a couple more times. So what do we do next? The company. So we might not even need to use those. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them or not. About blog. And we're going to do jobs, press. And at the very bottom, we'll do our legal. And we're going to have claim, privacy, policy. Does that make any sense? We'll say cookies. And terms. Okay, so underneath this div, we want the subscribe. So give them a chance to subscribe. We'll say the column of subscribe. And so we have H6, so it says subscribe to our newsletter. Capitalize that. p tag. Latest news, articles, and resources sent to your inbox weekly. Right. Underneath that p tag, let's do one more div with a class name. I'm just going to say subscribe here. We'll give our input type of email, the placeholder, enter your email. Let's subscribe. Now underneath there, I think it skipped down. Let's do our footer here, inside the main div. So div with the class name, footer. This is just the footer, the very bottom of the footer. We're gonna have some icons. Inside the content, we'll have another div, the class name, rights, and do our ampersand signs. We're gonna say, what is it? Copy. Right. Workflow. I think should be the @ sign. All rights reserved. Then underneath this div, let's throw in our React icons. We're going to use FA Facebook. Go ahead and auto import that. Let's give it some little styling in here as well. Give it a size of 20. A little bit of styling. Color. Can't use the variables in here, so let's type them out like so. Also some more styling. Remember, we have to use the camel case if it's more than one word. And everything, the values go in parentheses. So that looks good there. We're going to do Instagram. And we're going to do, was it Twitter? Twitter. And I think the last one was GitHub. Oh, damn it. Okay, so that's it. Let's make sure it imported all of our, yeah, don't need that one. Great, imported all of our icons at the top. Everything is looking great. We're just gonna have to do some styling on our footer. Let's go ahead and do that before we have a look. Width of 100%. Go to background color. I didn't. Do we use the same color? The dark. What's the dark gray? Our variable. Right. So 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 2 for where we have our subscription. And let's do our footer, our H6. And we can still our p tag, kind of lump that in here as well. Now we'll do light gray. Go to font size of 14 pixels. Padding of, let's see, 0.4 rem. Top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Let's give our let me give a class name in here. I'm just going to copy this down on all of these so we can target those instead of just the LI. Okay, here we go. So for link, we'll do color, light gray. We'll do same font size, 14 pixels. Basically, we can just use everything. Let's use this as well. I think we want to display this, the block, so it turns out okay. Okay, now we still need to do our input and our button. For rem all over. We've done 4 pixels. Let's give it a width of 250 pixels. 1 pixel solid. And we'll do our light gray. And style just a little bit of this button. Let's say 150 pixels. And we still have a few more things. Content div. Margin on, padding, 2 rem all around. Let's display this as flex. Let's see if we're going to use this. Don't think we'll need to. That may actually be it. Let's see how that looks. Man, that looks great. Just let's do some media queries. All right, perfect. We're almost done with this thing. Let's do footer. We'll do the container. And instead of the grid, we'll just display this as flex. We'll wrap. We're going to actually take away a few of the columns when we get on mobile. That way it's not all jumbled up in there. We can also do, I don't even know if we really need all those. Yeah, we'll just do a support. And let's just hide those. Let's do, this is not gonna. Still probably need to change our input buttons. We want those to be the full screen. Probably same with our button here. Something to think about when you're doing button sizing in regards to mobile devices. I can't remember what the exact sizing is of like a thumb hitting the screen, but I want to say it's right around 50 pixels. I'd have to Google that to make sure, but something to keep in mind, especially if you're doing apps or any, a lot of mobile devices. Let's see how this looks. Man, I think that looks pretty dang good. That's a little. Let's go back up here. Need to change this. Light gray. Let's see which one's this. Inspect. That's the D3. Okay. Let's just say gray. See how that looks. Yeah, it's better. You can see that. Make sure it's all responsive. Perfect. Perfect. All right, let's jump into the version 6 of React Router. We'll do that right now. So originally when I was building this project, I was not going to use React Router and different routes and pages. I was just going to basically just use the React scroll link or package to link down to these sections here. But since, like I said, React Router version 6 came out about a week ago, so I figured this would be a pretty easy project to kind of convert and create some routes and some pages. So let's do that. We already installed our package, our React Router DOM. And just to show you, if you're confused on that, just type npm React Router DOM at v6 for the latest version. Well, right now for version 6.0.2. Okay, and basically I'm gonna start the server back up. One of the main changes in the code, visually in the code, that you'll see is that there is no switch anymore. We're using routes instead of switch. So let's go into our index.js. We already did this earlier in the video. Instead of the React strict mode, we're going to say browser router, excuse me, and we're going to wrap our app around that and make sure you import it here at the top as well. And then in our app.js, initially, I had all of our components here, just like so, in the app.js file. But since I wanted to use the React Router DOM version 6 in this project, I set it up a little bit differently. So basically, we have one routes brackets here, and everything is going to go inside our routes. Like here is our home page, right? And our home page consists of all these components. So what we want to do to make each page, to make each pricing, FAQ, and contact its own page, what we want to do is go into our routes folder that we created earlier, but we did not put anything in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have the pricing.js, okay? And I'm going to generate a functional component here. But it's going to be a little bit different than than our component that we're using, because basically this is a page. Doesn't look any different in the code here, but it is a page, and we're going to import our navbar and then also the pricing component and the footer. We're just going to do it that way. So in here, we're going to say navbar, press enter, it'll auto import at the top. And then we can go down and we're going to put the pricing, again, import. There we go. Oh, I didn't pull that one in. We'll just type that in. So import pricing. And actually, so this is going to be outside that directory in the components, and in the pricing was we're looking for this one right there. So, and there, and let's add our footer. So footer, auto import. There we go. It pulled it down right there. Okay. So that should be it, you guys, on the pricing one, but we need to add a link to it. So in apps, we'll add a route to it. Okay. So what we're going to do, and this is all inside routes, we're going to type route path and then be what you want. I'm going to call it pricing. Okay. And then in our element, just like we did for the home, we're going to put our component in here, which was the pricing. There we go. And we need to import this at the top. We'll close that off. Import this at the top. And instead of going into the components folder, we're going to go into our routes folder, okay? Because that's where our pages are. And this pricing in our components folder and pricing in our routes folder are two different things, okay? So let's go into our navbar in the component section. Where's it at? There we are. Let's go in there. And for our pricing, we'll just add our two routes here. So just do pricing there. And for FAQ, we'll just type FAQ and then our contact as well. We already have that set up, and I'm not going to mess with the footer for now, so we can close that. So these should link to the right places. We just need to create them here. So we have our pricing. Next, in our routes folder, let's create our FAQ. And we're not going to need any styling here because I'm not going to do any additional styling on the page. You can do that if you'd like. Surely you would do that in your own projects. So don't have to delete that div there. I just do that. So let's do our navbar again. We'll auto import it. And then this one is going to be our FAQ. And in this we can't import it. It's going to be the same name here. So we'll just say questions, right? And up here, we'll say import questions from, and then we'll use components and then FAQ, and how we'll get around that. And our footer, auto import that, should look good. And let's go in here. I'm just going to copy that down, and this is going to be the FAQ, and this element is going to be the FAQ element. Yes, I want to import it at the top. And what's our next one? Contact, I believe. So let's go ahead and do our contact JS, okay? Generate our component. And in here, we'll do the same thing. Have our navbar, auto import. And again, we can't just say contact. I'll show you what's going to happen. There you go. I don't know why it's not throwing any errors, but I'm going to go ahead and change this because I know it's not going to work. So we didn't import those. So let's import footer components footer, and let's also import contact form. I misspelled that below. From components contact. There we go. All right, so that should work properly. Let's import this. I'll import it at the top. Make sure we're doing the routes again. There we go. And we got an error here. Our component contact does not contain default export. What are you talking about? Yeah, I don't know. I must have deleted it. So export default contact. That should clear that up. Contact is defined and never used. That's because we need to bring it in right here. We want that to be contact element contact. Should clear up some errors. Let's have a look. All right, so this is our home, and we can scroll down and see everything. This should go, there we go, perfect. Perfect. That's what we wanted. All right, you guys. Thanks for watching the video here. I think that finishes it up. We built this entire React application here. I showed you how to do routes at the top and how we installed React Router DOM version 6. I hope that was not too confusing. If you like the video, if you feel like you got something out of it, you know, if I was able to teach you something, I'd appreciate you liking the video and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. I'm going to be putting out some more content just like this in React and some other technologies as well. If you have any questions or comments, any input, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So please leave that below in the comment section. And I'm uploading this to my GitHub repository. There'll be a link in the description below as well. But thanks for watching, you guys, and I will see you on the next one.